Bookie Beatdown coming at you. Paul, Cody, UFC Nashville Picks and Bets. Nice little week off in between. And I think there's like 7, 8 different weeks in a row and contender series and all of that. So the summer is just heating up. That little break, enjoy it while it lasted, because there ain't no shortage of fights in the coming 2 months. Cody, how was your week off?
Yeah, well, summer is full swing. So as you mentioned, it is hot, and I know I am hot. I know the Nashville hot chicken is hot. So Derek Lewis's balls are also hot. Paul Shaughnessy headlining the card with the Black Beast, always a good time. Of course, we got to figure out which one of these big favorites is going to shit in the apple pie, because this card is quite chalky. So a couple dogs along the way that I am willing to take a shot on, but of course they're going to be greasy, and you're going to need a couple bounces here and there to get the job done. So I'm excited to break this one down with you, because on a name value standpoint, I think this is a good card. I think it'll be entertaining. It's just, it does feel fairly chalky, and yet the guys that are big chalk, not the most trustworthy bunch of guys going. Vitor Petrino up at heavyweight. Like, somebody's going to screw it up, Paul. And that's why I got you here. You're going to help me with this. We're going to figure out exactly who it's going to be.
Yeah, I've only made one click because I'm only human, but I needed to talk to you before, me, love, hunting, betting underdogs. And it's just like, I look at this board and I see a whole bunch of inflated favorites. I mean, not all of them are going to win. Somebody's going to shit in the pie, and who better than to speak to you to talk some sense before I just go complete YOLO mode and scatter this board. Anyway, main event. We've got Derek Lewis taking on Teixeira. Lewis, the plus 230 underdog. Teixeira, 25-year-old heavyweight, super tall, super long, is minus 270. I like Teixeira as a prospect. Am I really lining up? And I liked it, but it's like, this number kind of has continued to get steamed. I mean, I'm starting to question, do I just, part ways with my money and bet Derek Lewis? Taliesin's basically never really been outside of the first round in MMA. He had one modified rules kickboxing fight in Brazil a few years, maybe a few years ago. And he looked open to the counter. The chin held up, and the cardio wasn't that big of an issue. So I think his style would work if he doesn't get Derek Lewis out of there in the first round. And this chin is held up, but he was getting countered. And I don't think anybody's ever hit him like Derek Lewis hit him. He's a 25-year-old heavyweight. Losing to Derek Lewis wouldn't be the end of his career. It's literally just the start. Nobody would even, bat an eye at any of it. I like Teixeira as a prospect. I don't know if I could get to this minus 270 on the betting line. What's your take here?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got all the things you look for in a good heavyweight prospect. He's 25 years old, Brazilian, undefeated, all 8 wins inside the first round, 6'7", 83-inch reach. He's got the length, he's got the proportions, he's got the style, he's got the finishing ability, but it just feels to me like it's too much too soon. You're now jumping in. You're going from winning a fight on Dana White's Contender Series against Arthur Lopez to beating Justin Tafa in your debut, to now fighting, you're headlining a card. It's a 5-round fight, even though you've never been outside of the very first. And you're fighting from Justin Tafa and Arthur Lopez to Derek Lewis, this is his 30th fight in the UFC. He's headlined countless fights for the UFC. He's fought for a world title against Daniel Cormier once upon a time. He's been there. He's done that. He's got 4 times the amount of pro experience at this level. I just feel like it's not the easiest fight going. And of course, when you look at Derek Lewis, you just think, well, puncher's chance. Because of course, with Lewis, if he hits you, it's going to be lights out. And for his opponent here, Teixeira, we just don't really know how good his chin is. Because he's not really fought any credible punchers. He's not fought any top guys. He's never been tested. You do watch his fight on Dana White's Contender Series against Arthur Lopez. Lopez, who weighs in at 218 pounds. Effectively 50 pounds lighter than Derek Lewis. He's able to move him back, land those overhand rights, back him up towards the cage, unload on him with a few shots, and then eventually he gets himself knocked out in brutal fashion. Point being that a smaller guy that was willing to go out there and throw some hands was able to back him up and kind of at times touch him up. He has a tall man defense. Against the cage, he tends to block more than move his feet. Of course, Lewis has that ability to maybe clunk him in the first round. But again, Lewis has also got the ability to fight a second round, a third round, a fourth round, a fifth round. His last time out against Rodrigo Nascimento, wins the first round, loses the second, but he comes back in the third and he gets that big knockout. His fight once upon a time with Alexander Volkov takes a whipping for the first 2 rounds, and then late in the third gets the knockout. So not only could he, in theory, knock out Teixeira in the first round, but if this thing drags on, you've got a Derek Lewis that's been 5 rounds. Hell, he went 5 rounds with Gelton Almeida, who's being rumored to be Tom Aspinall's next opponent. Went 5 rounds, most of which he spent with Almeida in full mount on him.
Yeah.
And his cardio checked out. So if he has a potential cardio advantage, he's got the experience advantage. He too could knock out Teixeira just as much as he could himself get knocked out. Of course, we have to realize that Teixeira hits hard and Lewis has been KO'd multiple times before. It's just a heavyweight banger of a fight, but one guy's a big underdog, and yet we have a lot of these potential advantages. So with Teixeira, that's not saying he can't lose this fight and come back and be a legitimate fighter. At 25 years old, he's got 15, 20 years in this division ahead of him. Lewis, meanwhile, he's 40. It seems like it's end of the road, but 40 for heavyweight really isn't the end, so to speak. He's been off for a year. He's apparently healed up a few injuries. If he comes into this fight, I think he could make things interesting. The last little thing I'll sprinkle on, if you think we've got the experience advantage, the cardio advantage, a possible power advantage, Lewis is not the biggest takedown threat, but he does have 9 takedowns in his UFC career. Some of those takedowns are over decent guys. Tai Tuivasa is a big mobile guy. Shamil Abdurakhimov was a combat sambo champion. Blagoy Ivanov was a combat sambo world champion. And his last fight against Rodrigo Nascimento, he takes him down with a nice outside trip. He has a willingness to throw hands, back you up against the cage, control you up against the cage, and maybe mix in a takedown or two. If he can take down Teixeira, those big, long 6'7" legs, it's going to make it difficult for him to generate space, get up, explode. Whereas Lewis is 265 pounds and he's cutting to that. Him on top of you could be a problem. He's got some of the nastiest ground and pound in the division. All I'm saying is there's so many unknowns on Teixeira that there's multiple ways that potentially he could get found out. So if this was even money, if this was Derek Lewis has all these advantages, he's the favorite, maybe you would feel different about it. But the bottom line on this one is we got a middling heavyweight banger, and one of them's plus money. And I just feel like I'm falling into the trap of chasing that plus money. So for better or for worse, I'm plugging my nose. Black Beast Derek Lewis. Hot balls syndrome. Get this fight done with over. Get it sooner rather than later, and you can go ice them in the back. So I'll take D. Lewis for the win.
It almost feels trappy, but it also feels like so dog or passy as well. You know what I mean? Like laying the wood on Teixeira, who, that fight is out there on YouTube. I think it's like SFT 11 or something, modified kickboxing against some like 4 and 6 like Brazilian bum. It's out there, and I mean 3 years for a heavyweight. Yeah, 22 to 25, big world of difference. Don't get me wrong, but asking a lot, particularly at the price of -270. So yeah, it's dogger passed for Derek Lewis here, even at the ripe old age of 40. Moving on down, we've got the co-main event. Gabriel Bonfim taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Bonfim, a -400 favorite to come back on Thompson, +300. Who you got here?
See, this one feels a little bit trappy to me in that Stephen Thompson at now 40 plus just feels like you are asking for a not so good time. But the thing with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, especially if he's a big underdog, is he has the trickiest style in the UFC. He has a style that quite literally you don't have any training partners that can replicate, and very few guys on the planet are able to do it. Taekwondo, bladed style, side kicks. It's very, very tricky. It's hard to get a read on. Now, how do you beat him? You take this man down. You take this man down, or maybe if you've got some killer power, you're able to just crush him with a big shot. And really, that's the story of it. You go back 2 fights with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Rakhmonov's able to take him down, get the submission. His last fight against Joaquin Buckley, and mind you, you and I are both on Buckley. Buckley is losing the fight up until he torches him. Like, he has a real tough time figuring out the rhythm and the pace and the in and out movement. And in a 3-round fight, which this is, it's like by the time you get that correct read, if you don't land that big shot on him, you could be down 2-0. So you got to rely on the wrestling, and that's the way to do it. And I do feel like that's Bonfim's path to victory, is he's going to use the wrestling, he's going to take him down, and he's going to hold him down. Lots of guys have had a lot of success doing exactly that. Here's the trouble with just assuming that narrative and then jumping in at a big price tag. How good is Bonfim as a wrestler, right? Because he got taken down 4 times by Ange Loosa. So in theory, he got out-wrestled by Ange Loosa. And if he's at that level of wrestling, then it's not going to be as easy as you think to get down Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson looks like a fish out of water when he gets taken down, but the guys that have taken him down, Shavkat Rakhmonov, potentially the next title challenger, Bilal Muhammad, the former champion, Gilbert Burns, multiple-time title challenger, those guys can get him down. An average Joe who's getting wrestled by Ange Lusa, and he took down Chaos Williams quite well his last fight. Well, Chaos Williams isn't exactly a rated fighter himself. You can't just now assume that, because he's taking down those guys, able to take down Thompson. So let's look at the numbers for Thompson. Okay, 2 fights back against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Rakhmonov got him down 1 time on 5 attempts. In the first round, Rakhmonov goes 0 for 2. He gets a lot of standing cage control. He does get a lot of control time, but he goes 1 for 2. In the second round, he goes 1 for 3 and, gets the submission and a ton of control time. If Rakhmonov needs 5 takedowns to secure one of them, I don't know that Bonfim necessarily gets them on his first attempt every single time. If he's forced to stand with Wonderboy Thompson, he has a power advantage, and he could, in theory, also knock out Wonderboy. But Wonderboy's prone to maybe just outwork him. I mean, Joaquin Buckley is a better all-around fighter than Bonfim, and Joaquin Buckley was losing up until he was able to figure out something and catch him. So part of me thinks that the standing could not go so well. The wrestling might not come as easy as you'd like it to. Of course, you go back to Bonfim versus Nicholas Dalby, where he just flat gasses out. You got a gas bag who's potentially limited in a lot of these spots. We always joke around in the Discord which one's good Bonfim and which one's bad Bonfim. And after the last time, it was like they both might be bad Bonfim. We're not quite sure. They have moments. They're hit and miss. I don't want to bet a minus 400 guy who's hit and miss. So I feel like the smart play is to still take him. He's that much younger. The wrestling should be there. Wonderboy hasn't fought in a while. It feels extremely trappy to me because I don't love Bonfim, and you're betting. It's like betting against Ryan Hall back in the day. It's like he's not necessarily a world beater, but he has a style that's hard to replicate. And if you're not ready for it, he may just take advantage, capitalize on something. Jonathan Brookins way back in the day, just work your way to the back, right? The guy's not good. He has an ability to just maybe jump on your back. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is similar to Michael Page. Michael Page comes to Bellator. He's considered done. Bellator's done with him. He's a lot older now. He jumps into the UFC. He's been an underdog in all of his UFC fights. And what does he do? He keeps showing up and showing out. Why? Because his style is so goddamn tricky that guys struggle with it, legitimately. Even Ian Gary almost lost to this guy. It's a tough style. So this big of an underdog, I don't want to fade him. It's a pass as far as I'm concerned. It's a pass, but because I have to make a pick, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Should I take Thompson, or should I just avoid this thing completely? I'm thinking avoid this thing completely, but I need a pick on the show, so I'll take Thompson.
My biggest fear with Thompson, I suppose, is just like the age, the inactivity. But yeah, I mean, if it turns into like what, the Kevin Holland fight there, where Kevin Holland's been doing quite well since then. Bonfim, I do think that like he kind of fixed the cardio issues. The last 2 fights, he seems to have reserved his energy a lot better than after going balls to the wall against Dalby, not being able to get the finish and then getting finished. I did see some improvements in his game, but I don't know if his wrestling's all that great. Like outside of Shavkat, who's subbed him? That's not a great. Shavkat subbed Wonderboy. That's about it. One of the best guys in the division. I don't know if Gabriel's top in the division. I think it's another. Like, don't make me. I'm not going to be stepping in front of you with this. I think it's dog or pass. I don't know if I'm going to get to the window on Thompson either, but I'll wait for weigh-ins, everything like that. But another fight that's like I'm not excited about Gabriel Bonfim minus 400 at this price tag. I think it's far too wide. I think there's a lot of lines on this card that are far too wide, but it's just like, a bunch of these favorites are going to come through, but is there meat on the bone? Anyway, we've got Calvin Kattar taking on Steve Garcia, minus 123 for Steve. Calvin Kattar, small dog at plus 103. A little bit of action has come in. This was at like plus 130, open to plus 180. Action has been coming in on Kattar. And I will say, I think it's a good fight for Kattar to get back on track. Very, very hard to knock out. He only got, injured himself in the Arnold Allen fight. That's how he got finished there. But it's like good chin. And Steve isn't gonna like run away, keep distance, pump the jab. He's gonna make this a dog fight. Is it possible Steve's got too much power? Steve comes out here, lands an absolute bomb, runs through so many of these guys like he has been doing? Sure, it's 100% possible. But like, I feel like for the first time in a while, Calvin's got a fight that's like right up his alley. Somebody's going to stand in the pocket and box. He's just got to hang out in the pocket, trust his chin, which has historically been pretty good. And I think Kattar's the side for me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm on the same page here. Calvin Kattar, I think technically is a much better striker. Steve Garcia's got a whole lot more power. They call him Mean Steve for a reason. But if that power doesn't materialize, it's like the jab from Calvin Kattar should disrupt him time and time again. Steve just nukes guys, but the guys he nukes are Kyle Nelson, Sungwoo Choi. Sungwoo Choi's got a real bad chin. He's been getting nuked by a whole lot of people. Milk Costa, you can't take that one away from him.
Nice
that's a hell of a win. And the Chase Hooper win where he knocks him down 3 times. Every time he touched Hooper, he hit the deck. There's no denying that Steve has got big power, but Hooper's not a striker. Milk Costa, that was a nice one. Shaolin Nurmbayaki, he dropped Garcia. Garcia had to come off the canvas. Mahashat knocked Garcia out, knocked him down twice. Charlie Ontiveros had knocked Steve Garcia down twice. He's capable of knocking you out. He is equally capable of getting knocked out. And for the record, Luis Pena, long-time cut. Charlie Ontiveros, long-time cut. Mahashat's with the UFC?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably because they have another fight in Singapore. Maybe they can have the rematch if Steve loses this one.
Chase Hooper won aged like fine wine. The Milk Cost won aged like fine wine. And I'm not trying to discredit his wins. I'm just saying that this is a noticeable jump up from those guys to Calvin Kattar. And his nice wins, I don't think they compare. Like Chase Hooper is a real good ground specialist who at the time was a young kid, very underdeveloped. Calvin is seasoned. He's been in there with a who's who. He's got the striking advantage. I think he's got the better volume. He's got the better technique. He's a little bit faster. It's just he's got to mind his P's and Q's and not absolutely get torched. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. It's an MMA fight, but you fall in love with these guys. It's like, oh, if they touch you, you're done. But at the same time, it's like he's got suspect durability of his own. And against an elite level striker, I think that there's a chance that he gets hit. Calvin Kattar, he's on a 4-fight losing streak, so visually doesn't look good. And I think that's why a lot of people are just writing him off. Oh, he's done. The 4-fight losing streak is Josh Emmett, who's world class, gave Topuria arguably his toughest fight. Arnold Allen, he hurt himself, as Paul mentioned. And to be honest with you, I thought he was going to start working his way back into that one, but injuries happen. Aljamain Sterling's a former world champion that had to rely on 8 takedowns. Steve ain't going to do that. And then Yusuf Zalal, beautiful game plan, annoying to watch, of course, because I had Calvin Kattar, but Kattar did win the 3rd round. He got the reads in the 3rd. He figured it out. It was too little too late. Now you got a Steve Garcia where it's not going to take you 3 rounds to figure out where he's standing. He's standing right in front of you. You're going to have to approach with extreme caution because of the level of power that Garcia has. But at some point, I do think the jab's going to be the key. You're just going to get Garcia to get a little bit desperate. He's going to come swinging. He's going to get countered with the right hand. For Calvin Kattar, you quite literally have nothing to lose. 4-fight losing streak. If you lose this, for better or for worse, it's a 5-fight losing streak. And at his age and the amount of money that he's making, the UFC, on a business decision, will likely release him from his contract. So go out there and get the win. They've given you a guy that ain't going to run. He's going to stand in front of you. Sterling took you down 8 times. You don't got to worry about that. Yusuf Zalal ran away. You don't got to worry about that. This is the fight that Calvin's been wanting. And these are the fights that he typically does good. And you look at his wins. Giga Chikot's an elite level striker. Dan Ige, again, there's a win that aged quite well. Jeremy Stevens, hardest hitting guy in the entire division. The wins are pretty good, man.
According to him.
Have you ever seen the guy with no gloves on? The claim might be accurate. That he absolutely hits hard.
It's true.
But MMA is maybe not as good to him these days as bare knuckle boxing is. Point being that to me, it's still a step up for Garcia. It's a step down for Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is going to come in good shape, I believe. He came in good shape in the Zalal fight. It was just a tricky style. I think he goes out there and he gets the win. Slight underdog status, perfect, even better. But beyond that, I think Calvin Kattar gets his hand raised, is the better fighter, and just has to win more often than not, Paul. So on Saturday night, that's your one chance. Go out and capitalize it.
I love that you're dog hunting here.
He's an even money guy.
I brought you in to talk some sense into. I mean, not Kattar, but like Thompson, Derek Lewis. Not that you're confident in either one of those particularly, but yeah, you're not really talking me out of things that I had been considering. Let's see if it happens on the next one. We have Nate the Train Landwehr, your boy, plus 220, taking on Morgan Charriere. Fun little, I guess, factoid here is, I mean, this is a home game. It's a home game for your boy Nate the Train from Clarksville, Tennessee. The fans are going to be out there in full force.
100%.
Who do you got in this one, buddy?
Well, okay, so this one comes down to, do you want to go with the path of narrative or do you want to go with the path of tape study, right? And so the narrative, it's like, yeah, we're taking Nate Landwehr. Why? Because as Paul mentioned, he's from Clarksville, Tennessee. Not only that, but when the card went to Nashville last year, people were like, Nate has to be on the show, and they didn't book him. They said they're going back to Nashville, and that was the talk. Nate has to be on the show. The UFC obliges and says, yeah, we're going to put Nate the Train Landwehr on the card. Not only that, okay, but he's a sizable enough underdog against a guy from France. So we're in Nashville. One guy is a hot commodity. He barks like a dog. He walks you down. He slugs bombs. The crowd is going to be very, very hot, and specifically for him because he's a local guy. Taking on a guy from France who's got a super subjective style where he's very talented, but he's low volume, and there's a lot of scrambles, and he doesn't necessarily win all these scrambles. And every time Charriere fights, you watch the show, you know this, is I bring up the fact that he's had 9 split decisions, wins, losses, he's had majority draws, he's had majority decisions. It's just literally across the board. This guy is in close competitive fights. And I tell you every time, don't bet him if he's a 2-1 favorite or a minus 175 or a minus 230, because he's a 50-50 guy. Very, very talented, but he wins half of the time. And then half of the time, the fights are always close. That's why there's that many splits. You go back to the Chepe Mariscal fight. We had Mariscal. Mariscal outstruck him. Charriere did have the takedowns. The fans online were all, Charriere won the fight. The judges gave it to Mariscal. I agreed. But it's just a close fight. He's going to get a similar fight out of Nate Landwehr, a guy that's scrappy, come forward, is decent in scrambles. Nate Landwehr was a Division I college athlete in terms of like track and field. He can wrestle a little bit. He's fought for 2 years in Russia against a pile of dangerous OV guys. I will fully admit he's getting older. He's slowing down. He's not in his prime anymore. But at home, it's another one of these spots where he's going to feed off the energy of the crowd. He really doesn't have anything to lose. He's coming off a loss. He's, 1-2. Sorry. He is coming off the loss to Duho Choi, and that it wasn't a year ago, but it was like 9 months ago. So come into this fight, you're a crowd pleaser, you're a dog hunter, you're a guy that goes out there and goes for those bonuses. Just really bring the scrap to him. And Charriere, I think Charriere's got better wrestling. I think he's got better grappling. I think that technically he's a better striker, but he's a low volume guy. If he knocks out Nate Landwehr, then good, he got it over with. But if he cannot knock out Nate Landwehr, which is a hell of a tough task to do, and I just kind of feel like he ends up on the losing end of, I got 2 minutes of control time, 3 minutes of control time. I landed a couple good shots, and Nate started barking like a dog, landed a big overhand right. The place went wild, and the fight's close. If it's even as a close fight, which it should be, I agree. It's a close fight. When you give me plus 195 Nate Landwehr, plus 190 Nate Landwehr, plus 200 Nate Landwehr, depending on where this line ends up heading, it just feels like he's capable of going out there and winning it 5 out of 10 times. And because he's plus 200 almost, I just feel like I'm getting pigeonholed again into taking another shot on the underdog. And beyond all the narrative stuff is that his wins are not exactly the best. Jamal Emmers, Austin Lingo, the David Onama one, that one aged quite well, although he had to overcome a rough start. But the guys that beat him are pretty well top of the division. Dan Ige and Duho Choi are both top 10 guys, essentially. Top 15 guys, essentially. Morgan Charriere, meanwhile, I mentioned the Chepe Mariscal fight, but more concerning than that is his last time out against Nathaniel Wood, where he looked largely out of it. It's another low-volume fight where he's not getting the takedowns. He got hurt. The knockdown, I think, certainly looked good for Nathaniel Wood, and there's a possibility that maybe Charriere is just another one of these Cage Warriors champion. Jordan Vucinic, the same thing. Like, they look good in Europe. They come over to North America, and these dudes that are just dogs are able to push the pace a little bit more on them and squeak this thing out. So Nate Landwehr at home, it means something. I'm not saying the Tennessee commission's a bad commission, and it's going to be the same terrible judges that you always get, but it's an arena show. It's at Bridgestone, and I think that the support is going to be real hot for Nate Landwehr. That just needs to keep it close, and if it is a split, it should be a split in his direction. So give me Nate Landwehr.
I will say that Landwehr by split is like 10-1. I was flashing it up during your breakdown there. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Not bad.
That's definitely something that could happen. Correct. There was a fight card in Nashville for PFL. How was the judging on that? Do you remember? Probably horrible because like you basically lost every split decision possible this year. Respectfully.
And my buddy Jeff Hobbs is the timekeeper, right?
Yeah.
So like I know a lot of the guys
Oh,
on
you
the
know, yeah, of
commission.
course you go down.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And I remember I was at a show in Tennessee where a guy blew his knee out and then the ref waved the fight off and then they came in and then they worked on the knee for 5 minutes and then it clicked back in his place and the guy was like, "I'm good to fight." And they were like, "You're good to fight?" They asked the opponent, like, "Do you want to continue fighting?" He was like, "Sure." And then they resumed the fight. And the dude with the blown out knee ended up winning a split decision. So it's not exactly the most advanced commission going, but I do feel like the UFC is going to bring their same Chris Lee bums over there and Saul Diamato, and then you got to leave it up to them.
But the crowd will be juicing it for Nate, if nothing else. If it's one way traffic and Morgan blossom, but it's like there's so many fights with Morgan. It's just like laying chalk on him on the road when it's just like he gets, the volume's usually pretty low in all of his fights. His wrestling isn't all that great. Got boxed up by Nathaniel Wood last time out there. Lost the striking exchanges against Chepe Mariscal. It's like, we're only human. How can we not back Nate the Train here? I suppose that Duho Choi fight, bit of a red flag in terms of the wrestling. Duho Choi kind of surprised us all with that game plan in that fight. So maybe that's a path for Charriere, but I'll believe it when I see it.
See, that is the path for Charriere. My worry is that Charriere gets 3.5 minutes of control time, 4 minutes of control time. Nate gets up, Nate swings, the place goes wild. They give it to Nate. So because it's 2-1, I'm taking Nate, man. So I guess it's technically speaking 4 straight underdogs, but
it's one of those cards, guys. It's gonna be fun to watch, but is it, do you feel super jazzed about any of them? Not particularly, but I think there is value in my opinion, and it seems like Cody's opinion as well. Value on a bunch of these underdogs. All right, moving on down. I can't bring myself to bet Austin Lane, even though he's plus 500. Vitor Petrino got sent to the shadow realm, but it's like eventually, and I know that Petrino's moving up to heavyweights. He's always been pretty big. He did get wrestled by the pleasure man, quite handle, or it was like 7-5 in takedowns in that fight. So it's like, could Austin Lane utilize that NFL size, strength? Maybe, but it's like there's no shortage of underdogs I'm willing to take shots on this week. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on Austin Lane. I think Petrino gets by this tested heavyweight, but I am not convinced on this guy as a prospect moving forward. Your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, this fight kind of gives me a lot of concern because the line, there's really no value on it. You could try to chase a over-under or a prop, but in terms of just betting Vitor Petrino straight up, I don't think anybody's super happy about it. And then the thing with Vitor, right, is like on the Contender Series, he fights Rodolfo Bellato. He had already fought Bellato on the regional scene, iced him, fights him on the Contender Series, and like he gets dropped hard, comes off the canvas, beats Bellato, but he got dropped. Paul mentioned the Anton Turkalj fight, right? Whereas the Pleasure Man took him down 5 times and won a bunch of the scrambles. And when he did get taken down, got up fairly effortlessly. These are all at 205. Marcin Prachnio. He might be losing the Prachnio fight before he submits him. He doesn't look good. He looks awful against Marcin Prachnio, who's outstriking him 55-44 at the time of the 3rd round arm triangle choke. Just not a great performance. Modestas Piskauskas, it's a really low volume first round. He knocks him out in the second. Tyson Pedro, he just held him down. Like, who doesn't finish Tyson Pedro when they fight? You just took 3 takedowns, 30 significant strikes landed over 15 minutes. It's a real bad fight. I remember talking to you when he fought Anthony Smith and saying, I should take Anthony Smith. I'm not sold on Vitor. I think he's too big of a favorite. And I didn't trust my gut. I cowered it out. I took Vitor Petrino and he goes and he gets guillotine choked in the first round by Anthony. So that last time out against Dustin Jacoby, it's like he's written off at this point. He looked bad against Bellato, looked bad against Turkalj, looked bad against Prachnio. He looked mediocre against Tyson Pedro. He looked abysmal against Anthony Smith. What's he going to do against Dustin Jacoby? Nothing. He can't. If you can't take down Dustin Jacoby, your wrestling really isn't all that good. Jacoby's a good striker, so Petrino stands with him and he gets beat up. He ends up getting TKO'd in the 3rd round. Cardio didn't look good. Durability's not that good. Not a big volume puncher. Not a big takedown threat. He's just like a bruising Brazilian who had a nice little start to his UFC run, but is certainly fading away. So now 2-fight losing streak, not look good pretty well in the vast majority of your fights at this level. Now you're just going to suddenly jump up to a heavyweight. I got to see the weigh-in. Is he coming in at 220 or is he coming in at 245? How much weight was he cutting to make 205 pounds? Is that the reason his durability is not that good? Is that the reason why he fades in fights? Because he's cutting a crazy amount of weight? Well, I need to see him on the scale at heavyweight. Or is this a Ryan Spann situation where you're chasing a little bit of glory up at heavyweight because you don't want to do the weight cut no more and it's just not going to work out? Vitor is young, and Vitor is a big guy. He's 6'2" with a 77-inch reach. But at heavyweight, it's not just like a quick fix. And although Austin Lane is not good, Austin Lane is 6'6" with an 80-inch reach.
Played in the NFL.
Showing
a little bit of wrestling ability.
Yeah, and he dropped Mario Pinto in his last fight. Buddy, I was all over Pinto. So let me tell you, that was not it was not a good first round. And yet Pinto comes back and he takes him out in the second. Pinto looks like he's got decent cardio and carries himself well. Petrino might not. So now you've got a situation where Lane could, in theory, use some of that wrestling and take him down. He took down Robelos Despang. He took down Jonathan Deniz. Maybe he takes him down. Or maybe he just clunks him with some big power. Maybe he drags this thing out to the second round and his cardio is slightly better. I feel like Vitor is the clear play. But how clear? Is Vitor at minus 250 the play? Yeah, all day. Is Vitor the play at minus 300? I wouldn't love it. What about 400? What about 500? What about at what point is Vitor just going to crap in your apple pie? And even if he doesn't, how much does he add to it, really? So you got to check out the weigh-ins and see how they stack up against each other. See what Vitor looks like as a heavyweight. Maybe go with your gut and say this is where he should be all along, or this lazy some bitch don't want to cut the weight. And with Austin Lane, like, he is a real athletic guy. He comes from a football background. So in MMA, he doesn't have a ton of experience. It's not crazy to think that every training camp this guy gets, he gets slightly better. And he could be not better, but just bigger. And there's weight classes for a reason. So I will take my first favorite on the card here and go with Vitor Petrino, but for a guy that's this big of a favorite, he's going to be low on parlays. Parlays is a scary thought this week because I don't really love these favorites. I love a bunch of dogs. Of course, not every underdog is going to come through. Some of them are going to be good. Some of them are going to be bad, but Vitor just doesn't add a whole lot for me. So he's the play. Of course, I want to watch weigh-ins and just get my final read on that, but this is a dangerous fight, man. I don't trust Vitor as far as I could throw him. And I really can't throw this guy all that far. So that's my piece on him.
Yeah. I was just, while you were talking, I was scrolling through Vitor's Instagram and the shirts on party everywhere. You know, if
wearing a shirt,
of course he looks huge, but like he was enormous at 205. Like, look at this guy's like made from steel. And I mean, obviously was struggling with gas, with durability. Wrestling wasn't great. He looks big, looks strong, but his opponent is, a former lineman in the NFL. Yeah, I'm siding with Vitor, but I don't think I'm actually going to get any sort of action down on that. Like, I don't trust him that much. And frankly, yeah, it's really hard to say definitively like how this fight kind of plays out. Like, I really don't rate Austin Lane all that much, but yeah, I'm not sold on the Vitor Petrino to heavyweight experiment. Sometimes, I mean, Jailton Almeida made this similar type of move, and I wasn't entirely sold on that at first either, and it worked out for him. So, but that's because his style is grappling, and there's so many heavyweights that can't grapple. I don't know if Petrino's durability, chin, cardio, anything really works well, but that may just be what he's got. May just be enough to get past Austin Lane. But the fade is coming again for Vitor Petrino, particularly if they keep lining him like this. If I miss this fight out, then so be it. All right, moving on down, we've got Junior Tafa taking on Tokkos, minus 160 for a Junior Tafa. Comeback on Tokkos, plus 140. Who you got here?
Okay, so it sounds like I'm just spamming underdogs. Like I think Tokkos is the play on this one. Junior Tafa's not good. I don't know who needs to hear this, but like he is not good. He comes from a kickboxing background. And he's 6'3", 241 pounds, good kickboxer. When you watch him in glory, it's like he fought a lot of good guys. Oh, Guto Innocente, but he lost that. Benjamin Agabui, right, but he got dropped with leg kicks and quit. Jamal Ben Sadiq, yeah, he got knocked down twice in the same round, so they called the fight off. Okay, well, he's got a solid fight against. Now, that's about it. So, for the most part, Glory booked him, and he would lose when he would take steps up, and he'd get finished a whole lot. Going back to the Australian and New Zealand kickboxing scene, he'd done okay. His wins in MMA, generally against guys with good-looking records that are not necessarily good. And, of course, he has no ground game. He's got a straight kickboxing base. He can be an elite-level striker. You've seen it happen with guys like Alex Pereira, and you've seen countless guys that have been able to transition from a world-class kickboxing base to potentially be good MMA fighters. Maybe he's going to be one of them. You've seen a lot of guys not make that switch over. And to me, this is one of those guys. Muhammad Usman beats him in his debut. He knocks out Parker Porter, which, not terrible. Marcos Rogério de Lima just backs him up, makes him look awful, clunks him, knocks him out. Walter Walker takes him down like nothing, drops on a heel hook with like 10 seconds left in the round and subs him. His last fight against Sean Sharaf took the fight on like a week's notice. Sean Sharaf beat him in the first round. All three judges scored the first round for Sean Sharaf, who came in on a week's notice. Justin Tafa is a minus 305 favorite over this guy, and he drops a round to him. Sharaf tired in the second round, and Tafa put him away. But essentially, he's got a win over Parker Porter by quick knockout. He's no longer with the organization. And a win over Sean Sharaf that took the fight on a few days' notice. Had a 4-0 pro record. Essentially, a guy with less than 5 pro fights can walk off the street, take a fight in the UFC with Tafa, and give him everything he can. Alvin Hines could step in and beat Tafa. So I'm not betting Tafa as the favorite over pretty much anybody in the division. Then he gets booked against Tokkos, but wouldn't you know it, he pulled out. So now the fight gets rebooked, and it's still Tokkos. So what does Tafa do well? Well, as I mentioned, I mean, the guy's 6'3", and he's got a 74-inch reach, a 76-inch reach. It's like, okay, well, what was Tokkos' last fight? Navajo Sterling. Navajo Sterling's 6'4" and has like a 79-inch reach. He is a New Zealand kickboxer. That was pretty well the exact same style as Tafa, only Sterling's better. At least in my opinion, he's a better fighter than Tafa. When you watch him fight Sterling, he's able to get takedowns. His chin, which I got problems with, I don't think this guy's the most durable guy going. He took some nasty shots. His cardio, it checked out. He took that fight also on relatively short notice, but the guy trains full-time at Killcliff FC. He's getting some quality rounds in. At 35, I don't love it. I don't think he's going to make marginal improvements, but for a big guy, 35 is not a death sentence. He showed in his last fight against Sterling that he can hang with these big, tall, long grapplers and try to take advantage of, big, long, tall strikers, possibly take advantage of their weak grappling. Well, now against Junior Tafa, he's got someone who's got less grappling than Sterling and is less of a striker than Sterling. I just think that this is a 50-50 fight. And when you talk about middling heavyweights and, why not take that dog shot? Lewis versus Teixeira, yeah, I'm taking that dog shot. Petrino versus Lane, yeah, I didn't quite get there personally, to be honest with you. This is light heavyweight. I said it was heavyweight. The other one we'll talk about later when we get to it, Kennedy versus Walter Walker. There's going to be value on those underdogs for no other reason than heavyweight fights can generally tilt in either direction. One guy gasses out. There's a quick little takedown. Of course, there's big power that can end the fight at any time. If it's lined at 50-50, which is what I agree with, okay, fair. It's either a pass or even in that case, probably a slight play for Tokkos. The fact that I can get him at plus 145, plus 150, he's the betting underdog at the time of this recording. I think he comes in here with the knowledge of, okay, I just fought a big, long, tall, rangy striker. This is the game plan. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to avoid. And for Junior, it's like he got in the UFC because his brother Justin Tafa was in the UFC. His brother Justin's had quite literally zero. I shouldn't say zero. He's won a few fights, but is not good in the slightest bit. Junior was supposed to be his more accredited kickboxing brother, and I just haven't quite seen it quite yet. He's 28 years old. Maybe he's making improvements. When I watch him, I don't see those improvements. So I got Tokkos. But again, this is not like a trust him with your money. This is a dog that's going to hit. Let's go. This is it's down on the plays for sure. But he is the play all the same.
Yeah. I don't really disagree. I mean, I faded Tafa last time out against Sharaf, and I was feeling pretty good about it, considering how wide of an underdog he was in that spot. And like Sharaf was coming in super short notice. I will say, like the pictures that I do as I creep on Instagram here look a little bit better for him. He doesn't have the same love handles, so it'd be interesting to see Tafa at weigh-ins. Him and Tokkos standing next to each other. I'm with you. It's 6'4" or 6'3". It's like I don't think there's going to be too much of a size disparity, and I think Junior Tafa was really only fighting up at heavyweight because he didn't really want to cut. Add in the wrestling advantage potentially for Tokkos. Like seems like another dog shot. So Cody, I was expecting you to talk me out of a whole bunch of this, and now I'm just like, should I just scatter this whole damn board with underdog shots? I love you, but I don't know if you're really helping my sickness. Either way, we move on. We've got Chris Curtis taking on Max Griffin. Chris Curtis, the action man, minus 315. The comeback on Griffin, plus 265. First time Curtis has been down to like 170 in quite some time. Where are you at with this one?
Yeah. Well, on one hand, it's like Curtis turns 38, I think 3 days after the fight. It's like he's like a week removed from his 38th birthday. He's now dropping back to 170 pounds for the first time. Dude, what did you say? 5 years?
I don't know off the top of my head, no. But
oh, yeah. Okay.
I
No.
was
So
writing down
since his PFL run. So his PFL run would have been
I'll pull it
2019.
up.
Yeah, no, all good. It's been 6 years, really, since he's fought at 170 pounds. And I think part of the reason he's dropping down is same reason a guy like Kelvin Gastelum will the odd time try to drop down, is that you're fighting just big middleweights every time out. They're just too big. And eventually you start to lose some of these fights. It's like, I need to drop down to 170. Dropping down to 170 isn't a quick fix. The guys at 170 are faster. The guys at 170 have potentially better gas tanks. It's not as easy as saying, well, I used to fight there, they're smaller, I'm going to drop down. So I think Chris Curtis wins this fight, but 3-1, I don't think, I really don't agree with the price tag. The last time he did fight at 170, I saw someone mention
Kenny Robertson.
Kenny Robertson, that was at 170?
Yeah, according to this, yeah, Kenny Robertson was at 170 according to this.
Fair enough. So let's say he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights at 170 pounds. Well, he beat Andre Filo and Matt Dwyer. See, Dwyer's at 185. That's a long time. Yeah, so here's the thing.
Cooper.
Paul maybe has it in front of his screen.
Yeah, it's up on the screen right now.
Okay, so when you look at those fights, right, he fights Magomed Karamov the first time. He loses. Well, shit's going to happen. That second time he fights Magomed Karamov, it's a 2-round fight. He loses a decision. He goes in the back. He takes his gloves off. He takes the tape off. He packs his little bag. He says bye to everybody. He starts to walk out, and they run and they grab him, and they're like, dude, it's a one-night tournament. And the other guy pulled out. Can you fight Ray Cooper? So you'll notice on that his loss to Ray Cooper is the exact same day as Magomed Karamov. Mm-hmm. They pulled him out of the back. He retaped his hands. He ran out, and he got knocked out by a good version of Ray Cooper, who was good back then, but really isn't all that good anymore. Mm-hmm. Point being is that it throws your headspace off. Like you go from I lost a chance at $1 million, packing your stuff, leaving, to getting a tap on the shoulder, run back in there, and then you get knocked out. So I don't think he failed at 170. That's why he changed weight class. It was like the weight cuts hurt. And you'll notice in his run afterwards, he fights Kenny Robertson at 170 pounds. Okay. Then he fights Kyle Stewart at 185 pounds. Then he fights Jerome Thatch at 205 pounds. When I spoke to him, because we'd been booking him in those days, he was like, yeah, I realize the UFC is not going to sign me, so I'm going to be the guy that fights at every weight class. I'd like to take a heavyweight fight my next time out. He was planning on taking a low-level heavyweight fight just to say, hey, they call him the Action Man, of course, but he was changing his name to the King of Combat. I'm just going to fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. That'll be what my legacy is when the UFC finally signed him. And of course, as we all know, he went on to spark a couple decent guys to start out, win some bonuses, put himself on the map. So is he chasing some former glory at 170 pounds? I don't know. But he's a consummate professional, and he's just got far too much volume for Max Griffin. I got no disrespect for Max Griffin, who I'm a fan of. He's always gone out there, done the do, but he just doesn't really throw enough. And it's his last number of fights. His Michael Chiesa fight, the first round, he doesn't get taken down. It's just he lands 4 punches or something. It's too low. His fight with Jeremiah Wells, he lands 26. His fight with Michael Morales, 36. His fight with Tim Means, Tim Means took him down 3 times, man. Like, I don't think that Griffin really made all that many improvements. I think his striking is generally a lot of jabs, a lot of straight punches, no big volume, no big power, no big grappling advantage. Chris Curtis is not going to take him down. Chris Curtis has a 0% takedown accuracy. He does not shoot takedowns. So Griffin doesn't got to worry about getting taken down and controlled like he did in the Chiesa fight, but he's going to have to keep up a high volume, right? It's going to be 2 boxers essentially throwing down. And what I think Chris Curtis is going to have advantage here is that he's going to go to the body and I think hurt Griffin to the body. But beyond that, it's like his last fight against Roman Kopylov, he landed 142. Before that against Brendan Allen, it is a 5-rounder, but 124. Against Barrio in Toronto, not a great fight. Still landed 140 significant strikes. Against Rodolfo Vieira back in 2022, 109 significant strikes.
And stuffed like 20 takedowns in that.
And stuffs the 20 takedowns. So pending a bad weight cut, and of course we do have to watch the weigh-ins and see what these guys look like on the scale. Pending all of that, I just feel like Chris Curtis is the more credited boxer, will rip him to the body, will have higher volume, has enough takedown defense to keep Griffin off of him, and probably just edges this thing out. So I know I'm spamming a bunch of underdogs. This is a favorite I do agree with.
Take them all.
Yeah.
Take them all. I'm
on a personal level, I'd line it like Chris Curtis minus 240, minus 250, minus 260. So I don't love the line, but of course, this is one I'm going to have to pack my bags and go with. Action Man's always been my guy. So come through for me here, man, and it'll be much appreciated.
Yeah, it feels less comfortable betting him as a favorite because he's been an underdog in so many spots there. But at 185, he was clearly undersized. The brick wall takedown defense was kind of starting to like disappear as well for him, I will say. I just don't know if Max, especially at 170, now you got Chris Curtis, if weight cut and everything like that plays out really well. I'm kind of on the same page that I think a lot of the striking stats is what's going to really add up here. And I would be kind of surprised if Max Griffin's able to just hang and, or is able to take him down, control him, and do all of that over the course of 15 minutes. Like, just hasn't had that much success with that style too much over. Like, I mean, I guess he split decision against Tim Means. He was able to, get a knockdown, get some takedowns. Tim Means is a really, really trash wrestler. And he was taken down 3 times himself in that fight. So everything on paper seems pretty good. I tried to click onto, I'm sure it's out there somewhere, or maybe he deleted it because Chris Curtis seems like the kind of guy who would probably delete that Instagram. Definitely in play. But yeah, Curtis, the Action Man, is the side for me, but minus 315, like, people were wise to it. This one's really steam, open up minus 155, 260, and it's kind of hovered around minus 300 at this point, which all kind of makes sense. I mean, not all the underdogs are going to come through. Some of these favorites have a good shot. So Chris Curtis seems like one of the main favorites that I would feel comfortable, playing in some parlays and stuff this week. All right, moving on down, we got Chidi Njokuanj taking on Jake the Celtic Kid Matthews. Chidi, a minus 150 favorite to come back on Matthews, plus 130. Your thoughts?
Yeah, close fight. I do feel like I do got Chidi Njokuanj, but with Jake Matthews, and I've been wondering this forever. You remember he was on the Ultimate Fighter, Team Canada versus Team Australia. I don't know why they did that, but he was 19 years old. He's been in the UFC for 11 years. Over those 11 years, he's never been ranked in the top 15 once, ever. And yet he's had 11 years in the UFC. Jake Matthews has never made improvements, ever. And then to his credit, his last 2 fights against Phil Rowe and Francisco Prado, I thought he looked as best as he ever has. Against Rowe, you're taking on a big, long, rangy guy with decent technical boxing. The path to victory is take the guy down. Matthews wins the first 2 rounds simply just with his striking. His dad was an Australian kickboxing champion. This kid was a grappler. At some point, I think his dad's influence and just constant work in 11 years at the highest level, multiple training camps, his striking is developed. He's not world class as a striker, but it's developed. His grappling, it was always good. He's a black belt now. It's slowly developed. I thought he looked good against Phil Rowe, won all the rounds, took him down in the 3rd round just to seal the deal. His next fight against Francisco Prado, his striking looks a lot better. Prado's coming in here. He's winging punches. I thought the volume looked good from Matthews. He looks composed. He's starting to fill in as well. Looks good for the weight class. Still only 30 years old. He's just accrued a lot of experience. And so he really feels like he's coming into his own. And at some point, he's going to go knock off a fringe contender and really start to, put a good winning streak together. A win here would mark his longest winning streaks in over 5 years. So again, it's like I don't necessarily want to fade Jake Matthews. I feel like he's capable of going in there and pulling one over on a guy like Chidi Njokuanj. Here's the problem. When you watch the Francisco Prado fight, they're throwing down, and Prado's having some success, but Matthews just little edges him out. Prado has a 69-inch reach. He's 5'10" with a 69-inch reach. Chidi Njokuanj is 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. So hanging out on the feet and striking with him ain't going to be easy. In fact, all the guys that, for the most part, Mikey O was able to blast him. But outside of that, you hang out on the feet with Chidi and Njokuanj, like it's not exactly the best approach. His Muay Thai is very slick, front kicks up the middle, very long, tons of power, rips you all over, hurts you to the leg, gets you thinking about, shots to the leg, shots to the body, and then boom, hits you with that kill shot up top. The other thing is his last time against Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, it's a clinical performance. He puts him out. Jared Gooden looked like he quit on himself out of the first round, but I mean, it's an absolute beatdown from Chidi and Njokuanj. Riz McKee tried to hold him down the whole time and still got beat up. Marc-Andre Barrio, pretty cast iron guy at that time, knocked him out in 16 seconds. There's a lot to like about the striking. He's just got to keep it striking. And there's the one problem with Jake Matthews and the reason why I'm not backing him here. He has good grappling. He doesn't shoot takedowns, almost ever. Against Prado, he shot 0 takedowns. Against a guy that you knew was going to stand in front of you and chuck bombs, you took the path of most resistance and won. I'm not taking that away from him, but it wasn't easy. Against Phil Rowe, he waited until the third round to shoot his only takedown. Against Michael Morales and Darius Flowers took him down. Darius Flowers is like a 4-10 pro boxer who has no ground game.
Undersized, too.
Yeah, and you're like, why aren't you trying to take him down? Well, I just want to stand and box with him. Because again, the father's influence, your background of grappling is getting put by the wayside because you're standing and striking. Against Chidi's got a black belt. And Chidi's not easy to take down. But taking him down and trying to grapple with him likely is the easiest path to victory. Standing with him ain't going to be a good time. But what I do got to tell you is you have to wait for weigh-ins because Chidi Njokuanj missed weight his last time out, came in at 172.
He's never going to miss again.
Promise he's never going to miss again. And not that these stats ever count for shit, but Chidi's undefeated at 170. His losses are to Mikey O at 185, Albert Duraev 105, Gregory Rodriguez 105. Those guys are all huge, but they're all 85ers. Rafael Carvalho, former Bellator champion. John Salter fought in the UFC and Bellator, former title challenger, 185. Andre Korshkov at 185 pounds. Jeremy Kimball, way back in the day, that fight was at a catchweight of 180. Brandon Thatch, god damn it, remember that guy? He was supposed to be something special. That one was a catchweight of 173 because I think Chidi missed weight. He's a big guy. He's getting older. When you hear him talk, it sounds like he's a 2-pack-a-day cig smoker. I don't know that these weight cuts are that easy. And so if he can look decent on the scale, or if he misses weight but still looks decent on the scale, I think Matthews is just going to stand with him. And at that point, Chidi slightly more refined, slightly better, slightly wins. If it was 2-1 Chidi and Njokuanj, I'd probably be changing my tune. But at minus 150, very fair. So I will take Chidi bang bang.
Agreement. I mean, the stat about Chidi not losing, like he's just enormous at 170. So if he can keep making this weight, it's going to be huge for him. It's been 10 years, but like I remember we were heavy back for what was heavy back then on Matthews against Akbarth Areola. And Akbarth almost sent all of our parlays, everything like that, to the shadow realm because he knocked his ass down early. 10 years ago. It is what it is. But yeah, if Jake doesn't get that grappling going early, and like people have been trying to take Chidi down at 170, he's got pretty good takedown defense. He's been very, very difficult to like take down and hold that. Jared Gooden was able to like take him down, but it's like most of that fight just took place against the cage where Chidi's just like throwing knees to his body, beating the piss out of him, to be perfectly honest. And then I was on Elizu Zaleski dos Santos last time out against Chidi because I was like, oh, he can hang out at range. And boy, was I
Chidi too big.
Boy, was I dead wrong about that fight. Chidi is way too big. Zaleski borderline 155, or he's just kind of a little bit old at this point. And I don't think he has much of an appetite for making weight. I mean, Reese McKee, even that was a split decision, but Reese has fought at like 185. So
Riz is like 6'3" himself.
he's huge.
Right? Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's huge. So yeah, and I think that was probably a pretty bad split decision, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, sounds like we're on the same page. Again, we got Chidi Njokuanj over Jake Matthews. We got Eduarda Moura minus 600 taking on Lauren Murphy plus 425. Who you got?
Well, so it's another favorite though. Like I don't agree with the line, but I feel like I'm going to end up on Moura. And she's physically strong. I don't think she's got tons of volume. I don't think she's got big fight-ending power, but she's able to physically just muscle opponents and get those takedowns. The last time out against Veronica Hardy, used to be Veronica Macedo. There's a quick-footed fighter, karate background, hard to get a hold of. But of course, if you can take her down, she's a little undersized for the division. Moura's able to take her down 3 times, neutralize her. But outside of that, she got outstruck 46-26. So there's a subjectivity there of, yes, you won the grappling exchanges, you won the control time, but a different set of judges might feel like you're not landing anything, you're getting beat. Her fight with Denise Gomez, they're going to boo.
Where was that event held? Was it like...
It was Jones Miocic, which was
that would have been in front
York.
of a stadium. That would have been in a stadium at least, though.
Yeah, but the fight before that with Denise Gomez was the same thing, is that she got 5 takedowns, but she got outstruck 50-18. She's losing the striking exchanges. When you're getting takedowns, you're not doing anything with it. She loses that. It's a split. But what do you prefer? Takedowns or punches in the face? Geez, I come to see a fight. So
5 of 26.
Yeah, 5 of 26 is just she's spamming takedowns. She got a win over Montserrat Ruiz, where she's able to take her down 3 times, and she put big volume up on that one, but Ruiz can't defend herself. Yeah, she's just not good.
Tat, not great.
She's live or die by these takedowns, and it's like you kind of got to get that finish if possible. With Lauren Murphy hasn't fought in 2.5 years. She's now in her 40s. She, I would assume, ain't what she used to be, but women's MMA, the division seems to all be in their 40s. So I don't think she's necessarily going to be that big of a step behind. She's fought in former world champion Miesha Tate, former world champion Jessica Andrade, current world champion Valentina Shevchenko in her last 3 fights. Even Joanne Calderwood was, I don't know if Joanne Calderwood ever fought for a title, actually, now that I think about it. Point being, Joanne Calderwood was a top 5 girl of the division for a long time. Lilia Shakarova, what the hell ever happened to her, eh? Never fought again 5 years ago.
What happened there?
I don't know. Obviously found something better to do with her time.
I guess so.
Lauren Murphy did it for her kids. If you know her story, she overcame a drug addiction and moved from Alaska to the MMA lab with Jared Cannonier. He also went from Alaska to MMA lab. They weren't together or anything. I just mean they both went from Alaska to the lab and then reinvented themselves. I mean, she's a hard worker. She's gritty. She's about as tough as you're going to get in terms of just that real dogness to a fighter. She's going to come forward. She wasn't pretty beforehand. She's cool with not being pretty afterhand, but she is a fighter that I've always really, really respected, and someone that hits hard, is never going to quit on themselves, and is very physically strong. Moura's 10 years younger than her, maybe more. Like, she's a lot younger than her. And I do believe that she's going to be able to match a lot of that physicality. But if it's 2 strong girls hanging off each other, trying to get takedowns, but Murphy's able to put up numbers, it's going to be tricky. Murphy's last few fights against Andrade, she loses, but she still landed 100 significant strikes. Against Miesha Tate, she landed 105 significant strikes. She's got an average overall of 4 strikes landed per minute, taking on someone in Moura that's landing 2.5. I'm not saying it's everything, and I do have Moura, but you can't put Moura on your top line because she's minus 600 and fighting a 42-year-old who hasn't fought in almost 3 years. Like, it looks a lot more straightforward than it actually is. If this fight took place outside of a truck stop at 3 o'clock in the morning in Tennessee, which it might, by the way, I would actually be favoring Lauren Murphy. But I got a lot of dogs as it is. I don't want to get in this pattern where you're just blindly picking people because of value. It's like, who wins more often than not? Moura's got a lot of edges here for athleticism and speed, and I think if you bet every dog on this card, you'd come out on the positive because of the plus money. Like, even if you went 6-6 on the card, you're coming out profitable. If you went,
be very profitable based on the numbers that are out there on this card. But
if you're 5-7, you'd be profitable. If you're 4-8, depending on which dogs came through, of course, you could still be profitable. But Moura, it's women's MMA. CF dot model would have Murphy all day long. I just can't quite get there personally myself. So I do have Moura, but probably not anywhere on the top 2 or 3 lines. That's for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, she still looks like she's in damn good shape, just like on the Instagram. Obviously,
badass.
Tougher than a $2 steak. Like she's gonna fight for your money. She throws up volume. It's gonna come down to Moura and her ability to get takedowns. And what she does with those takedowns, with that grappling control. Because if it's the same old Lauren Murphy, like, yeah, Valentina Shevchenko took her out in the 4th round. Other than that, that's a big red flag. Sijara Eubanks lost 2 takedowns, 75 significant strikes. What the hell happened there? That was a bad night at the office. So that's the type of result. I mean, it's 2018, but maybe she's improved a bunch. But at this age, it's like, yeah, eventually you're like, how deep can I really get into this? Everything looks, from a guy who stares at Instagrams probably more than I should. Everything seems like she's, back on the grind, coming back here, trying to get that dub.
Your kids are probably in college now, so she got a lot of free time on her hands, and she's taking another run at it, baby. I'm here for it, but unfortunately, I need her to lose because I'm fading it.
Fair enough. I think it's dog or pass, but yeah, I got to really kind of isolate which underdogs I really plan on actually betting this week, but I would really struggle with all the stats, everything that kind of come together. I just struggle to back Moura at -600 in this spot. So Murphy's another dog that has my attention. All right, we got Kennedy and Nzechukwu taking on a Walter Walker. Kennedy a -205 favorite to come back on Walker +175. Your thoughts?
I got Walter Walker, man. I know what's wrong with me, Paul Shaughnessy. But yeah, here's the bottom line on this one, right? So when you look at Kennedy and Njokuanj, a former 205er, and what was he good at 205? He's just so big. He wasn't really getting the results at 205, truth be told, but dude is 6'5" with the 83-inch reach. Like, how are you going to approach that? Well, Walter Walker is actually 6'6" and only has a 78-inch reach, but he's taller than Njokuanj. He matches a lot of that physicality, and he is the real heavyweight. For Kennedy, I feel like maybe just the results weren't there at 205, and heavyweight's such a thin division that he's been able to jump up and have some success. That success includes wins over Chris Barnett and Lucas Brzezinski. So he's scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel. His losses before he moved up, I mean, the Alvin St. Preux fight, it's a bad look. Other notable losses, Nikolai Negumereanu and Dongwon Jung. Like, if you're not hanging with, hell, even his fight with Daniil Marquez, who took him down twice and was, dare I say, maybe winning the first 2 rounds before getting put away in the third. It just leaves a lot to be desired for Kennedy. I thought because of his proportions at 205, eventually something was going to click. You can't be that big. 6'5", 83-inch reach, John Jones-esque, just so long, and yet it ain't it. At a heavyweight, it's like you can fight those bottom of the barrel guys, but I don't think it's that quick fix. And again, his first fight against Chris Barnett, he weighs 241. His fight with Lucas Brzezinski, he weighs 236. It's a small heavyweight. Walter Walker, meanwhile, again, this guy's 6'6" and he's got a long reach, but when you watch him on the regional scene, it's like, unlike his brother Johnny, who is more of a striker, it's like Walter can grapple. Walter spent time in Russia and Bulgarian top team, and he's really, I think, worked on that grappling. I don't like that he's dropping on leg locks his last couple of fights, but he's won his last couple of fights by jumping on leg locks. So this is what I'm getting at for him, okay? He wins a couple decent fights on the regional scene. The Alex Nicholson fight, I ain't looked all that good in that fight. Took 4 rounds to take on Nicholson, but of course Nicholson's on a whole lot of steroids, so give him a pass. He loses to Brzezinski, the guy I just laughed at as being the bottom of the barrel guy. But in that Brzezinski fight, the first 2 rounds he opts not to wrestle. He just stands. He's losing. Third round, too little, too late. He gets the takedown. He wins the 3rd round. It's not enough. So he ends up losing the decision. He weighed in at 264 pounds for that fight. Half-assed it, fought a bad game plan, and lost. His very next fight against Junior Tafa, he weighed in at 252. So he came in 12 pounds lighter, and he took him down right away and beat his ass on the ground. His next fight with Dante Mays, he came in at 245, 7 pounds lighter than the Tafa fight, in even better physical shape, took his ass down and submitted him right away. That's a guy that had to lose to figure out what he's doing wrong. At this point, he's in a lot better physical shape. The one loss was good for him. I just lost to Lucas Brzezinski. Well, how? I didn't take him down. I fought like a bum, and I came in out of shape. Go to the gym. Find that eagerness, find that drive, find that passion, find that fire. And it does kind of seem like he's in a lot better shape. He's fighting the right game plan, and he's looking to utilize his grappling advantage. When you tape this guy in the regional scene, that's what he does. He is a grappler. Don't think he's like his brother with a flying knee and a big old flying wheel kick or something like that. Stick to what you're good at. And so the takedowns, I think that'll go a long way against Kenny Njokuanj. One, you're bigger than this guy. You fought at high as 265, but even if you come in at 245 versus the 235 for him, there should be about 10, maybe 15 pounds in his favor. Mm-hmm. Kennedy's got an 81% takedown defense, but the guys that are taking him down, Devin Clark is a middleweight. Yeah. Kutalaba could be also a middleweight. Nikolai Negamarianu, a middleweight, but man, Danilo Marquez, holy crap, he's no good. Darko Stosic 4 times. Paul Craig took him down and subbed him. Anton Berzin. Did I mention middleweights? Berzin's another middleweight, and he took him down twice. I understand a lot of those are now a while ago, but grappling has never been in Kennedy's favor. Takedown defense has never been a strong point for him. Him being really tall and long has been his go-to. And as long as Walter Walker doesn't give that to him, go out there, close the distance, take this guy down. Walker's more explosive, better athlete, faster, better ground game. And really, it does all come down to he's the betting underdog. This is a 50-50 fight, and I can get a dog. So it is very much dog or pass, and I am going to take Walter Walker as the dog.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm actually looking through like props right now. Walker decision plus 325. Walker sub plus 600. I'm not sure actually what to make of that. I know I'm surprised that the sub is actually wider than the decision, but I actually was thinking that like maybe decision would be a little bit wider because like for what Kennedy lacks, like I think he's actually pretty credible when he has been taken down on the mat of at least maybe like staying out of trouble. But yeah, not many like these fights at heavyweight. Nobody's really been trying to take him down. Chris Barnett, super undersized. I mean, if you cut like 45, 50 pounds off of Chris Barnett, he's probably a pretty small, respectfully. He's probably like Torres. He's probably like Torres Finney to be perfectly
he's 5'8", 5'9", same thing.
Like,
right?
Yeah, you can do backflips and stuff. Love the guy.
He's super explosive.
But yeah, it's kind of like, that guy's not wrestling. That was an absolute beatdown. Brzezinski, like, I mean, I suppose Kennedy's a favorite because of his result versus Brzezinski and Walter's result versus Brzezinski. But yeah, styles make fights. Kennedy's heavyweight takedown defense, in theory, and hopefully on our betting cards and stuff this week should be tested. And I'm not sure 100% if he's going to pass this test. Really comes down to the fact that it's plus 175, plus 180 in some spots. Dog or pass. Mike Davis, Mitch Ramirez, minus 900 for Mike, plus 600 for Ramirez. Any thoughts here?
Those last two ones, I agree with the favorites, but they're just so goddamn big. Mike Davis, I think, wins this fight all day long. With Mike Davis, I was hoping to get a better price on him because of his last performance. I faded him in there. I had Faraz Ayem. Faraz Ayem looked awesome. But really, Mike Davis looked fucking off, dude. He looked way different than I'd ever seen him. He's pulling guard. He's not trying to wrestle Faraz Ayem despite having a wrestling advantage. He looks tired despite having unbelievable cardio. His quick explosiveness was done 3 minutes into the fight. It's like, did someone poison this guy or something? Like, what's he? Or is he just getting old? I don't know. And then it turns out that it was in Dubai. They had just recently painted the dressing room, like fresh paint. Like he, amongst with a couple other guys, complained about the paint fumes messing him up. And whereas like people like to say sour grapes and coming up with excuses, he looked like there was something wrong with him. Mm-hmm. And I am going to fully agree. The paint fumes got him messed up. And after the first round, he knew he didn't have the explosiveness. He knew he didn't have the energy. He can't breathe. His lung capacity is reduced to 40%. He's pulling guard and trying to survive. Prior to that, this guy can do it all. His striking is elite. You know, you want to go back to his fight with Sodiq Youssef, which is widely considered maybe the best Contender Series fight of all time. But even that, you know, 108 strikes against Mason Jones. You watch that one, it's dynamite. His fight with Vyacheslav Borshev, yes, he takes him down 9 times, but his technical striking is amazing. He spent a lot of time working with great striking coaches. I think that he's too smart to strictly strike, but his straight up striking, very, very high level. Good kickboxing, mixes in leg kicks, very fast, beautiful little left hook. His wrestling, again, it's also good. I mentioned the 9 takedowns against Vyacheslav Borshev, 3 against Mason Jones, who's got credible judo base. I just feel like in every area here, he is a lot better than Mitch Ramirez. Mitch Ramirez took a short notice fight on the Contender Series against Carlo Paredes at 170. That's pretty respectable. Gets knocked out, but all the same, he's up a weight class against Paredes. And then the UFC gives him a short notice fight against Thiago Moises at his natural weight class of 155. That was the bigger concern, is that he got taken down twice by Thiago Moises. So I really just don't wrestle his wrestling game all that high. And then furthermore, he got beat up pretty good standing by Thiago Moises, who eventually was able to just hobble him with constant leg kicks and take this guy out. How does he match up with Mike Davis? Mike Davis is a better striker than Thiago Moises and is a better wrestler than Thiago Moises. So I think Davis has multiple paths of victory. If he wants to stand with Mitch Ramirez, which wouldn't be his easiest path, I think he's a better striker. But he's going to take Mitch Ramirez down. He's going to beat him up on the ground. He's going to take his time. Davis is a bit of a decision guy in that he's not going to overexert himself. He's not going to improve position by going for a submission and just kind of leaving himself in a bad spot. I think that he's just going to staple him to the ground, fight it really tactically, knows he needs a win here, wants to make it exciting, I'm sure, but he's going to fight this one smart and make sure that he secures the victory. At 9-1, what can you do with it? There's really nothing you can do with it. But whereas you can make good arguments for a lot of these underdogs, and I'm sure there's a valid argument for Mitch Ramirez, his is only, it's too big. The price is too big. If you say, well, Mitch could catch him, I just don't think he will. I mean, he's got some power, but Mike Davis is very durable. And again, he's got the striking advantage. Well, Mitch Ramirez could take him down. Faraz Ziam took him down. Well, again, if you listen to the breakdown of the Faraz Ziam versus Mike Davis fight, we like Faraz Ziam. This guy's gone a long way. He's improved a lot, and his grappling's gotten a lot better. I don't think that Mitch Ramirez is on that level in the slightest bit. Fluke submission, really don't see it happening. Well, Davis gassed his last time out. Davis looked off his last time out. Fair. I'm honestly associating that to flying to the Middle East, getting high on paint fumes, and then having to fight a guy. So I got Mike Davis beating him up, but the line just doesn't give you a whole much. Can you tell me what's the best price on like a over 2.5? If they give me 1.5 all day, but they won't.
Yeah, I can effort that. Give me 1 second here. Totals. The over 2.5 plus what? It's plus money, plus 143, plus 135-ish is, you know, what's being offered.
If you could, you could find a book, like again, if plus 2.5 is, if over 2.5 is plus 140, then if you can find a book that does offer you a 1.5 and it's might be like minus 160, like that would be the best way of attacking this one instead of a 900 Mike Davis ticket. But yeah, I mean, Murphy's been finished on his Contender Series fight and against Thiago Moises. Davis does have the submission win against Natan Levy, so like it's not completely out of the realm of possible, but we're gambling here at the end of the day. And so a minus 900, you're not really you are gambling, but there's no reward here. If you do this long term, you're going to come out losing. Whereas if you may be able to get it over 2.5 at plus money, if you can find out maybe a safer route of attacking it, of course Davis is going to be in parlays for me. I'm just too degenerate to avoid that. But there's a full understanding here that like 9-1 is just, and now we're about to talk about Fatima Kline, who's 12-1. Like these last two fights are giant favorites that we can all agree on, which is why they took all the action. All those other favorites we can't really agree on, which is why there's a little bit of dissent and live underdog money. I'm not seeing it in these first two.
I mean, the only bet that I actually made, and it's because, you know me, I see these big numbers, I get excited. I understand Fatima Kline should be a favorite here. Melissa Martinez does not look good. Her brother, David, looks actually pretty good. She's only 25 years old, but first click I made, and full disclosure, I was drunk. Right after the last event, I took her at plus. I took Melissa Martinez at plus 900. And the other day, I actually took a little bit more. at plus 1,000. It's not that I don't respect Fatima Kline. She was an Invicta absolute standout. She hung in there with Jasmine Jasudavicius, up a weight class, everything like that. Don't get me wrong. I think she's a very, very legitimate prospect and all of that. She's super young, improving. I expect her to win. Don't think that it's like, oh, I think it's like, wrong fighter favorite or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's more like, do I think that she wins 90% of fights in this spot? I'm not so sure about that. So I took my chances that Martinez can kind of keep it standing and box at range. I was creeping her Instagram. Seems like she's putting in some time at like the Mexico UFC. What's the gym that they call it there?
Performance Institute?
Performance Institute. So her and her brother have been there kind of full time doing all of that. I don't think she's David, but at plus 900, plus 1,000, doesn't really need to be. Dog or pass because I just don't play these numbers. Your thoughts?
It's possible she's made improvements, of course. I mean, she's training at a good level, and her brother, he's definitely talented, and she's been kickboxing since she was a small kid, multiple-time Mexican champion. Of course, her brother, same thing, been kickboxing his entire life and is a multiple-time Mexican champion. So, yeah, maybe she's making improvements, but I do think she loses 90% of the time. I think Fatima Kline absolutely wrecks her. And I can only base that on what we've seen. If there are improvements, well, that remains to be seen. That'd be a new wrinkle to her game. But her debut against Elise Reed, she got taken down 3 times, and she also got knocked down by Elise Reed. Now, Elise Reed's had 9 fights in the UFC. She's never knocked down anybody, and she pretty well doesn't take down anybody. And yet she took down 3 times Martinez and knocked her down. Martinez is not good. I don't think her durability is good. I don't think her striking is good. I don't think her wrestling is good. I don't think she's anything good. That she takes 2 full years off. So that's where you would like to see those improvements. Hey, you just got beat up by Elise Reed, and this is a really bad look. Go to the gym, take 2 years off, improve. 2 years later, she comes back against Elise Ardeline, and she barely beats Elise Ardeline. She got outstruck 92-72 against a Instagram model who's...
Hey, Ardeline looked good last time out against Rayanne dos Santos.
We cashed it. I was on Elise Ardeline there, but did she look good? Did she look good, or is she fighting
former Invicta champion and Rayanne dos Santos? I'm just saying. Maybe that era of Invicta not so hot. Maybe all of the fights that Fatima Kline's rolling over all of these people don't mean shit. That's all I'm saying. You may have to cut that word out on your end.
Yeah, so they're usually cool with shit, and the last 2 fights generally don't make it on TV because I only can play an hour.
Yeah.
So once you roll over an hour, you're good. It's just like the F-bomb, and like if you were to say some like crazy term or something, but yeah, mostly just avoid the F-bomb. I would say for Melissa Martinez is that she's got a lot of glaring holes in her game. There can only be a good Martinez and a bad Martinez.
Yeah, well, she is bad Martinez.
Her brother looks like the good Martinez to me. Fatima Kline, meanwhile, she's 24 years old. So what you see is she's going to be constantly getting better. This is someone that does make solid improvements fight to fight. She wrestled a little bit, I believe, at Dutchess Community College. She's also a high-level BJJ black belt. I could be wrong on that. Her grappling is pretty legit. You watch her in a lot of these straight-up grappling matches, right? Well, Medusa had brought her in for one-night tournaments. She had competed at Subverse, which is like a pretty solid submission in the shore. She competed at Fury Pro Grappling. She's taking on a lot of good grapplers, and when you watch her in those fights, it's like that is definitely her base. The Jasmine Jasudavicius fight, she took at 125 pounds. So she's a 115 who's a grappling specialist, now moving up a weight class to take on maybe the more, I wouldn't say the biggest, most rugged girl in the division, but certainly a big and rugged girl within the division at 125. So that fight did not look good, but against Victoria Dudikova, it's her dropping back down to 115. She's a minus 900 favorite in that fight. A lot of the same sentiments were floating around. She coming off a loss. Maybe she's not that good. Minus 900 for women's MMA. And like, yeah, she picked her apart. Like she was a better striker, really good standing cage control. There was a few mistakes here and there, but her ability to recover because she's good on the ground, she'll recover her guard, she'll create space, she gets back up, her offensive takedowns look good, her pace looked good. Victoria Dudikova is a young, strong grappler. Melissa Martinez is still young, but she's coming from a straight-up kickboxing base. So Kline's grappling should really help out here. And the fact that Elise Reed took you down 3 times, you're going, I don't care that it's 4 years ago. You're going to get taken down by Fatima Kline. Let's say Fatima does not take her down and it's a striking battle. Well, again, it's like I just don't really rate Melissa Martinez's striking as really anything world class. I mean, the fact that Argeline can give you everything you can handle in a striking battle, I feel like a better technical fighter like Kline could do exactly that. Now, it is minus 1,200, and there's nothing that you can do to really get much value out of this. You parlay it with stuff, you are still taking risk, and there's not a whole lot of value being added to your card. So you'd get chasing on a over-under prop, but I don't know that there's any great over-under prop. I feel like Kline by decision, but if she's got a significant grappling advantage and she just blasted Dudakova some nasty elbows in the second, she may just get on top of Martinez, take the back, choke her out, or advance to full mount, smash her with a series of elbows and get this thing called off. So why not take Kline inside the distance? Well, it's women's MMA, and the price on that, is also really not all that good. It's certainly better than the minus 1,200, but I just don't know what the best way to attack this thing from a value standpoint is. Kline's the pick all day long, but can I put her on my top line? No, because it adds nothing. Can you put her on the second line? Yeah, I suppose you could, but do you have that much confidence in her? Yeah, compared to most of these other fights, probably do, actually. So Kline probably ends up on the second line for better or for worse, and I will come up with a prop or a total by the time the weigh-in show rolls around on Friday. But yeah, to be honest, what am I telling you that you don't know? Minus 1,200 favorite. Cody's taking her. That's it. That's all. I'd love to figure out for sure. Is she going to finish this thing inside the distance? Is it worth going for the TKO prop or the submission prop? If I could find a good read on something like that, I'll definitely disclose it over on the Discord, over on the Patreon, over on the weigh-in show come Friday. But yeah, for the most part, I just got to accept the fact that this thing got beat. I don't know what the opener was, but whoever got on it early, I think was on the right side, and they left no more meat for us scavengers that were going to try to come pick something off of it. So kudos to them players. Fatima Kline.
Yeah, it opened May 28th at minus 600, was bet down to minus 900 immediately, and then it's basically just been.
So no one made money. You had $100 soft opener,
money.
right? And you put $600. Well, they wouldn't even take 600 likely.
It's the Pat Mayo special. We get UFC back in action with a Pat Mayo special, and then live with the consequences. That's the Paul Shaughnessy strategy, going forth here. At least on the beginning of this card. I just don't. Yeah, I respect Fatima Kline. I think she's good, but I'm not adding that to any sort of parlays this week. Anyway, we are just about out of time. People are like, we don't care. We want to hear the PRP. Cody, give them the PRP this week.
Getting the order this week is going to be stressful, but these are the players that are going to be on the ticket. Derek Lewis, dog number 1. I'm not married to the whole Wonder Boy thing. I said pass earlier than I had to make a pick. I took Wonder Boy. Like, I'm not married to it. If he is the play, for now, I'm going to say Wonder Boy. It's the PRP play. That's the PRP play if it ends up being it. Calvin Kattar, I do like that one, and he's going to be guiding. I'm going to have to play him a lot higher this week, I think, than I'd like to. But dog number 3, we're going Calvin Kattar. Nate Landwehr, dog number 4. Vitor Petrino, I really do not like it. Tokkos, dog number 5. Chris Curtis, Chidi Njokuanj, Eduardo Moura, Walter Walker, dog number 6, Mike Davis, Fatima Kline. It doesn't sound sexy when you say it out loud. But yeah, as long as I can just get my top 2 lines, top line, I'm happy. Top 2 lines, good. We're in the profit. Beyond that, there's so many dogs here. If a few of them come through, we're getting value all day. Yep. The last thing I'll leave you with is, you roll it back 2 weeks ago to the last UFC we did. We hit some nice dogs in the sense that we had Peyton Talbot. We had Beneil Dariush. I thought there'd be a lot more dogs on that card, but there was enough to make it still profitable, solid card. This one, I'm liking a lot of these dogs. If only 2 or 3 of them come through, it's all about just getting the right order. We'll be okay. But of course, if 5 or 6 of them come through, and those are the 5 or the 6 that you're on,
you're rich.
You're taking it to the moon, baby, and that's what gambling and the PRP are all about. Lose small, win big. On a $1 ticket, on a $10 ticket, when it pays 150 to 1 or something, then yeah, anything can happen. I do think this card we're going to need some bounces, but I'm hopeful that my Tennessee Athletic Commission buddies will get it right for us. So that's it for me. Yeah, I'll just hope. I mean, listen, throw it up in the universe and be positive, be a good person, and positive stuff and good things will happen to you. So that's it. Throwing this one up in the universe and hoping it catches for all of us.
Hot weather, hot chicken, hot balls, hot picks. Hopefully at UFC Nashville. Anyway, that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody, I'm Paul saying goodbye. Good luck.